part 2 up here with John Colloca in Oswego as we look at his ISMA Super Modified as he's ready to go. We're going to adjust the valves. I hope you caught the first one where we changed the rockers. Now we're going to the next step, and we're going to change make sure that we have everything all set there with the valves. What are we doing now?
So we're going to adjust the intake valve. And the way I was taught by Doug Holmes is you have to adjust the intake valve when the exhaust valve just starts to open.
Okay.
So I'm going to have Tim rotate this.
Yeah, because remember, this thing does not have a starter, so they can't just bump it.
Yep.
He's got to actually physically turn the axle to get the engine to move.
And you're going to have to go a little bit, Tim, because we got to go on the exhaust stroke before that happens. You might have to.
There we go.
Okay,
now
right
we
there.
got it.
Now, this valve just started to open, so now we can adjust the intake valve, and that'll be at 12 thousandths.
Okay, that's a feeler gauge, much like you used back in the day to gap spark plugs, right?
That's correct.
And it's 12.
This is 12 thousandths.
12 thousandths. Okay.
On the feeler gauge.
Okay, so you
Yep.
wanted that to be tight, or like it barely fits, or you just got to tighten it when it's in there?
It just has to have some drag on it. That's the way I like to do it, and it seems to work because I've been doing this for a while, and I don't normally have a problem with valves.
And the Allen wrench is on the top of the push rod. What is that? The adjuster?
This is the adjuster. This actually adjusts the gap, and this locks it. The outside nut locks it. So we're almost there.
And that's a push rod, guys, right there.
And that's good.
Okay.
So I'll lock that.
Okay.
Now we will go to another cylinder because in the rotation, we need to get an intake valve to just start to close. So we got to get one in that position. So now you got to turn it now, Tim.
And by the way, Tim is really horsing on this on the back. There's this thing they rigged up there, like almost like a fulcrum almost, and they're physically turning the engine by turning the rear end.
Good.
Because it's in gear. Okay, so that's what we're going to focus on now.
Yep.
All right.
Now
and this is another intake valve.
This is the intake. Now you adjust the exhaust, which is, and this is number. Let's see, 1, 3, 5.
5.
This is number 5. So all I have to do is use a 14 thousandths feeler gauge.
So it's different.
Yes.
Why?
Just because the engine builder has tested this stuff, and that seems to be his magic number that he likes to use.
So we'll loosen the adjuster at the top again of the rocker. And I'm learning a ton today. I hope you guys are too, you know it? Because you guys remember, I was playing basketball when John and all these guys were busy messing with cars.
Yeah.
Playing basketball and out drinking Matt's beer balls instead of paying attention to motors.
Oh, don't worry, we did our share.
Oh, you did? Oh, so we did have that in common. Okay,
yes,
all right. We just did different stuff in between. Now I understand.
That's pretty much it.
All right, so he's got that in there at 14 1/1000ths, right? 14.
Correct.
Yes. Okay.
And then it's
we loosened it, just
kind of
get that
go
in
by
there.
feel. You don't really want to force it in there,
No, I
but
imagine you wouldn't.
let's see if I did it right.
Okay.
Okay, that's locked now. I've locked it with the wrench.
Mm-hmm.
And it could be just a
Yeah,
little
it
bit
looks like it's a
tighter.
little loose, doesn't it? Okay. Because I noticed the other one you had to kind of push a little more to get in
Yeah,
there. So
and that's pretty good right there.
okay.
And that's how we adjust valves.
Okay.
And we've done it.
Do we have an order that we go in? Do we start with one cylinder usually and work our way?
Actually, I'll do one side and the other. One side of the engine, then the other. You can go back and forth, but it's just kind of a pain going back and forth. So I just do
Yeah.
one side.
Well, especially with this, because you can't even get to the other head.
Well, yeah, you can.
Oh, you can?
Very
Okay.
easily.
All
Actually,
right.
the other head is more open than this because I got the exhaust here in the way, but
Okay.
it's still, plenty of room on the other side.
Okay. All right. So after they all adjusted, we're ready to fire it up?
Correct.
Do we put a new valve cover gasket on every time we take the valve cover off?
No,
Okay.
you don't have to. They'll last a season with no problem.
Okay.
Normally, we'll check the valves every week.
Oh, really? You'll
Yeah.
do this every week?
Yes,
Okay.
because if you're starting to have a problem, you might not notice it at the end of a race, but it would show up here if a valve got real loose. You know, there's something going on with the valve train, like
Gotcha.
maybe a broken lifter or a bent push rod or something of that nature.
Okay, all right. So like you'll come back and will they all be the same? I mean,
You'll find the first excuse me, the first time you adjust a valve after
after it
you've run them,
races, yes.
they'll get a little bit tighter.
Tighter. So you got to
Yeah.
back it off a little bit more.
So you have to back them off a little bit.
Okay, so that feeler gauge would not go in then at that point, and then we just do the same thing. We loosen up at the top of the adjuster.
Loosen up the lock nut,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the adjuster, and you just back them off a little bit. And when I'm talking about, I'm only talking a few thousandths, but
Yeah.
it does happen because it pounds.
okay.
It pounds the seats
So it
in.
might be like 8 or 9
Yeah,
instead of
it
from
could-
12 to 8 to 9
yeah,
to 10, something like
yeah,
that.
It could be.
Okay,
Yeah.
it never goes the other way.
Normally not.
Okay.
Unless there's something wrong.
Oh, and then so if it's bigger, now you know you got a different problem.
Yes.
So if you can put that in there and it just slides right in like nothing.
Yeah. If you find a rocker that's really loose, you know there's a problem.
Okay.
And you have to deal
Well, I would
with it.
imagine sometimes things could come loose, couldn't they? I mean, maybe you didn't get it quite
Normally
right.
not.
No, because you
No.
torque it should be
no,
fine,
but
right?
I've had these rockers break right here,
Okay.
and then you have to you usually have a problem. But I've been lucky where I had a track out of town and it broke, but it didn't do any other damage, and we just replaced the rocker.
And the valve is obviously inside of here. What causes an engine to drop a valve?
Well, you really can't see it, but there's a keeper, and this is the retainer here, and there's a keeper inside there that keeps all that together.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes that retainer or the keeper will break,
Okay.
and then the valve closes, which sometimes might not do any damage, but the damage will start when the valve drops.
Yes.
Okay.
Then the piston hits it.
And the piston hits it, and then you start having problems, as Tim well
So
knows.
if it closes, now we just lost a cylinder basically, but still that cylinder can have a major problem too because
Correct.
the exhaust, it's not getting out, right?
Most of the time, it'll do damage to the piston, and you just have to stop.
Is that how you burn a piston then?
No, you burn a piston mainly by not running enough fuel.
Oh, just being lean.
Yep.
Okay.
Being lean.
Lean creates heat, and there you go, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Thanks, John. I appreciate it. I hope you guys like this. And if you have any other ideas of stuff we might be able to do up here with John, or maybe you have a question, please send me in an email or right here on Facebook. Doug at Doug's Dirt Diary is the email. John, thanks so much for your time, man. And thanks to Tim for being the horse here, like you called him, because he just got his workout back there turning this motor. So thanks, guys. I really appreciate it. Hit the blue E, guys. Keep subscribing. Keep watching. If you got thoughts, I want to hear them, okay? Hope you guys had a great weekend, and I wish you all the best here in the early season.
And happy Mother's Day, everyone.
That's right. We're doing this on Mother's Day. So happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there.